What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Where Stats Meet Instinct post-game show. I'm your host, Sam, and I'll tell you what, selfishly, I really needed the A's to win this game. Two of the last post-games I've done were the JT Ginn walk-off home run he allowed against the Angels after going into the ninth inning with a no-hitter, and then the game against the Cubs where they blew a 6-run lead. So both of those times, I pretty much would have rather been doing anything than talking about the game. And this one was a whole lot different. So I'll tell you what, I really needed this one. A's come out. They win 11-2. Not much. This was like their best game of the year. They did everything well. Obviously, you score 11 runs. The offense does a phenomenal job, led by Nick Kurtz, as we all expected, and Jeff McNeil, as absolutely none of us expected, but an absolutely dominant offensive performance, which is what you're going to get from this team at times. This team obviously has played obviously, they're just really talented offensively. And at times their play has been up and down, but when this offense is clicking, man, they can hit anybody and they can put up a ton of runs. And it felt like they really did that today. Nick Kurtz, we're going to talk more about him later, but what can you say, man? Incredible game from Nick Kurtz. You're facing Jared Jones, too. Jared Jones is throwing 101 miles an hour. Not like an easy guy to square up. And the A's, they let that first inning get away from him a little bit. At that point, when they let off with 3 straight singles, then went 3 straight strikeouts, you really felt like that might have been their chance to get to Jared Jones. But the A's didn't blink at all. They came back next inning, put up a 3 spot, including a Nick Kurtz 2-run home run, which was absolutely one of the most impressive home runs I've ever seen. It was a slider down, borderline out of the zone on a 3-2 pitch. He hits it the other way, 112 miles an hour on a line, 407 feet. Now, most major league power hitters cannot hit a ball 112 miles an hour to the pull side. He did it the other way. Like Brent Rooker has hit 30 home runs in the major leagues for 3 straight years. He kind of maxes out around 113. And most of like kind of his peak ends up being around 110, 111 miles an hour. Nick Kurtz just flicked one the other way, 112 miles an hour. Like, that's special. That's not human. That is ridiculous. And that really got the A's going, and they were rolling from there. JT Ginn, you know what's funny? I didn't think JT Ginn was very good from a command standpoint today. It reminded me a lot of the game Gage jumped through in Houston, where he went 6 1/3 shutout innings, but it really didn't feel like he had his breaking ball, and it really didn't feel like he had his command, and he kind of just found a way to get through 6 1/3. That's really what JT Ginn felt like today. It didn't feel like his command was very good, honestly. And at times you kind of felt like he was getting into a territory where the game might be slipping away from him a little bit. The A's needed length out of their starter today, just as kind of a byproduct of the Vegas series and how that unfolded. And he went out there, and in the 4th inning, I believe, he was at 75 pitches. There was only 1 out, gets a huge double play ball there. And then he gets a quick 5th inning, goes out for the 6th inning, gets through the 6th. And you know what? That's what quality pitchers do. And that's not something we've seen from A's pitchers very much lately in the past couple of years, where you just don't have your best stuff or best command, but you still find a way to eat innings and quality innings at that. And that's exactly what JT Ginn did. It was huge to see him do that. The A's really needed some length out of a starter, and he gave it to him. And then the A's really just rolled from there. A lot of guys contributed. Lawrence Butler is kind of starting to stack some ball games. Jeff McNeil really broke out. Baseball's crazy, man. You can have an 0 for 20 stretch like Jeff McNeil, and then 3 for 4 with a home run and 4 RBIs the very next day. Baseball's so weird, man. It's so weird how there's these stretches like that. And, it's just one of those things. One day you're not seeing the ball very well, and then all of a sudden something clicks, and the next day you're seeing the ball really well. So, hitters go through slumps. It was really good to see Jeff McNeil break out of that. All right, let's touch on some of your guys' thoughts on this. Andrew, what is up? I was at tonight's game. Great atmosphere. Jeff McNeil, you're still not off the hook. Gelof's going to take his playing time away with Muncy at third. Yeah, I think that's kind of in the works already. But it's great to hear the atmosphere was great. 11 runs will do that. But hey, Jeff McNeil had a great game. I think he's kind of going to move into more of a utility role, which is probably best for the team right now. But for tonight, that was a phenomenal ball game. I'm very happy you're live and Ginn isn't giving up a no-no. Well, he did give up a no-no. It just was in the first inning instead of the ninth? No, yeah, that one killed me, man. I'm telling you, that was one of the toughest post games you could possibly do. That was miserable. RD, good game. Good to hear from you, RD. Yesterday was a giveaway game. Today they played to win. And, Dallas Braden talked about that, and I do think that's kind of true, where when you just get thoroughly beat like that, those are some of the easiest games to flush because it's just like, all right, we played poorly. We didn't do anything well, and you move on, right? I think a lot of times the ones that are really tough to get over are the games you should have won that you lost. But over the course of 162, when you just thoroughly get your butt kicked, sometimes it's easier to move on from those type of games, which is counterintuitive, but that's kind of how it feels. Budge Base. Hi, Sam. Henry Bolte hit a ball in the air tonight. Any thoughts? Yeah, that's great to see. And it was an extra base hit, too. Henry Bolte starts hitting the ball in the air. Guys, check out Budget Baseball's pregame. They got a lot of stuff right in this one. The first inning was hilarious, by the way, because Q had a ton of numbers about the middle of the order and how you should stack the lineup. And then it completely played out counterintuitively to his point, but it was pretty funny. But yeah, Henry Bolte hit the ball in the air, but shoot, he also hit the ball on the ground and he beat out a pretty routine ground ball. Pretty nuts. The one thing that's fun about this A's team is there's some truly special tools. Like Nick Kurtz power is special. Nick Kurtz eye at the plate is special. Henry Bolte's speed is special, right? Jacob Wilson's bat to ball is special, although it didn't seem like in the first inning there. But there's some really fun tools to watch with the A's, with the team this year. Rants, when will Q be dancing? Hopefully we get that on a show in the future. Doesn't sound like it's going to happen tonight. For those of you, if you watched pregame, Q said he would dance live on air if Jacob Wilson got 2 hits with runners in scoring position and 2 outs today. It didn't happen. But if Q's lineup construction works as he thinks it will work, that's going to happen several times, and we'll get Q on here dancing. Can't wait to see that. Andrew, thanks for the follow back, Rance. Rance is the man on Twitter. He's just the president of Athletics Twitter. And, Rance is the man. Nikki is a freak. He is trending towards that Judgian outcome we all hoped. So I'll rant a little bit about this because he is absolutely special, and it is not recency bias. This is the best A's hitter of my lifetime. Maybe there's an argument for Jason Giambi, but this guy is absolutely special. He is 23 years old. He is in his second major league season. He was the 3rd best hitter in baseball the year after he was drafted, and I don't think people talk about that enough. That is something that's unheard of. Usually the year after you're drafted, you're in high A ball, if you're lucky. And if you're a really good prospect, you're in AAA, maybe you make it to the big leagues. And if you make it to the big leagues, you just hope to keep your head above water. He was the 3rd best hitter in baseball last year, a year after he was drafted. And then you get all these fantasy baseball gurus this year in this offseason talking about he's due for regression. There's going to be regression. And then he gets off to a little bit of a slow start. And you see a lot of people saying things like, oh, he's the league's figured him out. There's all this, there's that. And man, I was hearing it from people because this offseason, I was like probably most of you, absolutely just banging the Nick Kurtz drum and talking about how special of a hitter he is. And we were hearing it from people early in the year. And I was telling people, let's talk about this again in August. My mentions and say stuff like that. Well, no, let's talk about this now. It's June, but let's talk about this now. This guy is an all-time special hitter. But if he stays healthy, this is a Hall of Famer. This guy does things at the plate that you're not supposed to be able to do. You're not supposed to be able to hit a backside 3-2 slider, 407 feet, 112 miles an hour like he did. You're not supposed to be able to do that. You're not supposed to be able to take these borderline pitches. He gets pitched tougher than anybody in baseball. And maybe that's an exaggeration. I'm sure Judge and Ohtani get pitched similarly. But of anybody who I've watched regularly, he gets pitched just so tough. Teams don't want to let him beat them. And he still beats them, like consistently. This guy is absolutely incredibly special. And look, I don't really care about the All-Star voting. We're A's fans here. We're used to our guys getting screwed in the All-Star voting. Like, whatever. Like, vote for Vladimir Guerrero. I don't care. But Nick Kurtz better be there. And you know what? I'm very confident he's going to be there because you know who knows how good Nick Kurtz is? The players. The other players. Let these pitchers vote. Let these pitchers vote on who they think should be in the All-Star game. Because I'll tell you what, these pitchers are going to say, Nick Kurtz is top 3 scariest hitter in baseball. And it might not be long before we're talking about him as the scariest hitter in baseball. So, yeah, he's a freak. He's absolutely special. I'm not worried about the All-Star game stuff. Like, whatever. Like, it's just casual fans voting casually doesn't impact how good Nick Kurtz is. But I'm telling you, the players are going to get him in because they know. Like, watch a baseball game. They know. So, just wanted to talk about that. I don't think people realize how good Nick Kurtz is. Oh, and you're absolutely right. And that's the other thing, just like where the A's are at in this kind of transitional period too. Like, he's not going to get the credit that he deserves for a little while, but he's going to get it. Like, he's going to get the credit he deserves because at some point you're not going to be able to ignore it. And most people don't ignore it at this point. Like, they know how good he is, but people think like, oh, I need to see a little more from Nick Kurtz. I said this offseason, if you're not ranking Nick Kurtz as the best first baseman in baseball, you don't understand the context of how good of a player he is. He had an OPS plus last year, and OPS plus like accounts for different eras. So it's really easy to compare players across eras. He had a 174 OPS plus as a rookie. And you look at the list of people that have done that, it's only all-time greats, like only all-time greats. It's not even like, oh, there's some all-stars or whatever. The one exception to that is Jose Abreu. He was like that, but Jose Abreu was coming over from the Cuban Professional League at like 28 years old in his prime, different situation. But like in terms of young guys making their major league debut as rookies, like it's only all-time greats. And people outthought themselves or they just didn't pay enough attention. This guy is absolutely special. Semboy, good vibes in the Sacramento air. Yeah, no, it was great, man. And it's the thing, like people talk about energy, and if a lot of people think energy leads to performance, but performance leads to energy. When you have just a team playing that good at baseball, the vibes are going to be good. The vibes are going to be good. Andrew, I went to grab a beer for both Kurt's home runs. Can't make it up. Well, you better take up drinking, my friend, because I'm going to need you to do that every Kurtz at bat from here on out. So probably not good for your health. Your loved ones might be a little worried, but I'm going to need you to do that. Do it for Nick Kurtz. Raiders, Kurtz OPS is 1,006, only behind Jordan for AL lead. This kid is something else. Easily should be starting the All-Star game at first. Yeah, he should be. He won't be, but he'll be there. Special, just absolutely special. Rants, president of Athletics Twitter. Shout out, Andrew. And yeah, shout out, Andrew. Andrew, you're here all the time, and you got some good stuff to say. We appreciate you on the network. Owen, yeah, completely agree, Sam. Best A I have ever seen. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And again, Jason Giambi early 2000s was pretty special. But, man, Nick Kurtz is doing it at such a young age. Like, he's doing it at an age where Jason Giambi was barely debuting in the big leagues, I think, if he had even debuted yet. This is special. This is special. And like, you got to appreciate it when it's here because, there's a few athletes in your lifetime that you're going to see that are doing things for your favorite team that are absolutely special. And this is one of those times. Budge base. Crazy to think Kurtz can have 100 career bombs at this point next year. That is pretty nuts. You'd be what, 24 years old with 100 bombs? Yeah. And I mean, health permitting, it's tough to see him not getting there with how good he is on a consistent basis. And it's just like the pitches he takes, man. Like he he and Judge and Otani all do things the same way. And I talked about this on one of my first shows in the offseason. They basically don't chase out of the zone, and you can get them out if you make your pitch. Like you can get them out if you consistently make your pitch. The issue is they just punish mistakes and they don't chase anything. So where it leaves you is like, okay, you make a mistake, they're going to hit a home run or a double. They're going to do big time damage, like because they hit the ball harder than anybody. And when you get they get a mistake, they're going to absolutely punish it. And if you don't throw them pitches in the zone, they're not going to chase, which is going to lead to you falling behind in the count, which is going to lead to you making more mistakes. And they just put hitters in this trap. And yeah, sometimes Nick Kurtz will strike out. All those guys will strike out because sometimes pitchers make their pitches. But, all it takes is one at bat a game for you to not make your pitches, not execute perfectly. And all of a sudden the game's flipped on its head. And that's something Nick Kurtz has been doing consistently. And it's crazy too, because power hitters are one thing, but he gets on. It's like his other at bats are so good too. Where he's drawing walks and he's hitting the ball hard and he's getting singles and he just does everything. He just does everything, right? He might not have the bat to ball of Jacob Wilson, but man, this guy he is leading Major League Baseball in OBP. He is leading Major League Baseball in RBIs. He is leading Major League Baseball in walks. He is second in OPS. And this was with getting off to like a 1 for 20 start, whatever it was. Like this year is incredibly special. It's incredibly special, but it's just his baseline. Like this is what he's done his whole MLB career. Like his baseline is a 1,000 OPS, which most major league players can only dream of, which is nuts. King Akins, yeah, thanks for selling me all their cards. Andrew, I'm tired of Kurtz getting hate for hitting I'm assuming you mean minor league park. Yeah, minor league park. Yeah, I mean, it's just what casuals say when they want to, their perception doesn't match the reality of what the numbers say. And so they're just trying to look for a way to validate their perceptions and they go to the easiest thing. But really, it's just people that don't pay attention and don't know ball and are stupid. King Akins, MVP. He's definitely making a case for that. Yordan Alvarez is having a great year. Ben Rice is having a great year. Bobby Witt is having a great year. But, we'll probably look up in September and there's going to be a real conversation, at which time you're going to hear a lot of the minor league ballpark stuff. You're going to hear the better Kurtz is, the more you're going to hear excuses to tear him down. But again, just non-ball knowers talking non-ball knowledge. Oh, and this kid is going to lead us to a championship. Man, I hope so. Like the A's are building this offense, right? And it's really close. And you see a lot of the other pieces really come together. I mean, Tyler Soderstrom is on such a tear. And this is the thing, man, you have to be patient with guys in Major League Baseball, especially the guys that are talented and the guys that have performed in the past. Like Tyler Soderstrom got off to a rough start, but this is a guy that's 24 years old. He hits, or 25, I think he's only 24, hits the ball incredibly hard, is a very talented baseball player. And it's just a matter of time, man. You play 162 for a reason. Like, guys are going to go into bad stretches throughout the course of the year. As much as I've raved about him, like, he's going to go into bad stretches at some points this year. Like, other bad stretches at some points this year. But you got to be patient with guys. Soderstrom has really been doing some great things. And him really getting going puts this lineup on another level. And, Lawrence Butler, as much as I think we've all had our feelings about Lawrence Butler and have criticized Lawrence Butler, he has done some really good things the past few games, right? The at-bats look more confident. He's not chasing very much. His swings don't look like he's underwater right now. And the confidence is coming back, and you can see it in his takes. A lot of times you can tell when a hitter's about to get going when their takes are really balanced, really good, really competitive. And he's doing that. Now, I'm not saying he's going to, go be 2024 Lawrence Butler or anything like that, but we just need him to be solid. Like if he's a 235, 240 hitter with 20 home runs, his contract's not great, but it's not bad at that point by any means. And if he's that hitting seventh in the lineup, you're gonna like the results of that at the end of the year with how good all these other guys are. Because you have this core of Kurtz and Soderstrom and Wilson and Langoliers, and you have other guys like Rooker. You have Bolte, who has a chance to develop into something pretty special. You have Zack Gelof, who looks like he's maybe turning back into a core piece. So if you just get solid production out of Butler, this lineup's going to roll. Now, the pitching side of things, there's a lot of work to be done. But again, like JT, Ginn, and Gage Jump, the one thing that they've done this year so far, and each of them have had one start like this, they don't have good command at all, but they get you through 6 quality innings against a good team. Jump did it against the Astros, and today you saw Ginn do it against the Pirates. Hopefully, those two guys can kind of be fixtures of the rotation, and then the A's can find a way to fill in a few other spots in the rotation with 1 or 2 more fixtures, 1 or 2 more innings eaters, and maybe that championship can come to the A's. But definitely feels good to have a lineup that can do the things that this lineup can do. Aaron hurt, so he is number 2. Yeah, at the moment, yeah. No, Judge is hurt, so yeah, Kurtz is number 2 at the moment. Kurtz will be the best hitter in baseball for the next 3 years. Won't even be close. He is generational, the best A's hitter I've ever seen. Yeah, you're not going to get any argument from me on that one. Hobbs, what is up, Timmy? Good to see you, Sam. 7 for 15 with runners in scoring position is awesome for the A's. Yeah, and it was good to see Jeff McNeil get those 2 singles with runners in scoring position, especially the first one to get the A's on the board. After the first inning, where it really felt like they were about to take a lot of momentum, and then they really lost all of it, and it was really in the Pirates' hands. It was good for them to bounce back in the second and have that RBI single by Jeff McNeil. And then obviously Kurtz follows it up with a home run, and the A's really get rolling from there. Hitting with runners in scoring position is the type of thing that's going to go up and down over the course of the year. But really, really good to see the A's just put a really complete game together from that perspective. Because when they are hitting with runners in scoring position, this team's going to score a ton of runs. Who's in front of Nick Kurtz right now for MVP? Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and his 3 home runs is in first. Toronto fans are voting a ton for all their guys, but he's getting a lot of votes, and then people that are pretty casual that recognize the name and put him first. I think Ben Rice is ahead of him, and there is an argument for Ben Rice. I wouldn't put Ben Rice ahead of Nick Kurtz, but I could at least justify that. And I'm trying to think of who's third. Someone maybe throw that in the chat if you know. But it's someone who's not as good as Nick Kurtz. Andrew, if anyone has a Kurtz rookie card, hold on to them. Seriously, good advice there. Bob, I think for the longest time, McNeil has just been overcompensating for struggling on this team. He is the kind of veteran presence where he's intense and a lot of weight is on his shoulders. Yeah, so I find that most slumps are that. Like hitters go into a little bit of a bad stretch and then they try to do more and they really try to press to get out of it. And baseball's not football where you can just effort your way out of struggles and effort your way into success. Like as a hitter, you need to maintain a low heartbeat and you need to be relaxed and you need to be loose. And so when you come up and you've been struggling and you just try to do a little bit too much or you try to force things, it tends to get you into a situation where things spiral. And, that might have been what it was for McNeil. He gets just nothing special, just line drive single the other way. And that might have just opened things up for him, allowed him to relax a little bit. People aren't going to like to hear this either, but Butler's the same way. Like people assume Butler struggles because he's not trying. And I think it's the opposite. He has bad body language and he wears it a lot, which frustrates people. And I totally get that. And he's kind of lost the benefit of the doubt from a lot of fans, but he's the same way where you can see he's trying too hard and it just gets him in this cycle. And he specifically has a really tough time pulling out of that. And so that's something that I think is definitely going on with McNeil. I think you're 100% right on that, Bob, but it happens with a lot of players too. What's your argument towards people that say it's the ballpark with Nick Kurtz? My argument is watch a damn baseball game and see him hit 112-mile-an-hour line drive backside. And I mean, at the end of the day, you look and it's like, okay, so he hits 3 home runs over the course of the year, 4 home runs that might have been not been out at another stadium. Maybe they're doubles at another stadium. But when you're head and shoulders above all these other guys in every other category, you could be playing in Yosemite and he's going to put up a 900 OPS. So use your eyes, watch a baseball game. That's what I would say. All right. I have just about all of them. Good call on that. The better the team plays, the more McNeil can dial in his focus on his own game and kill it at second. He has a lot of good baseball left. He is starting to get it going. Kurtz MVP. Yeah, so it's interesting with McNeil because I do think Gelof has put himself into everyday playing time. And I do think you want to play Muncy because of the upside. And as much as this year you want to see the A's win, it is also about development because development ultimately leads to winning, right? And not just next year, but this year, later in the year too. And there is a ceiling with Muncy. So I think what you're going to see is Muncy and McNeil play about 2/3 of the time. Maybe you'll see some games where Gelof goes out to right field like he did this past weekend, and you can play both of them and stuff like that. And then if McNeil hits like he did today, he'll keep playing that 2/3 of the time. And if he continues to struggle like he was before today, then you're going to see his playing time kind of get chipped away at. Maybe it's 50% of the time, and then maybe 30, something like that. But I am hoping McNeil can, be a quality 270 hitter at the bottom of the lineup that helps turn this lineup over. Because that's one thing Q and Sammy were talking about on pregame is the bottom of the order hitting this well is really allowing this lineup to function at a really high level. And so you want these bottom of the order guys producing. And hopefully, you see McNeil be one of those guys. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Butler has been good too. Yeah, Butler has been good. He's just such a streaky hitter. And I think that's one thing you're always going to get with Butler. Soderstrom's a little bit like that too. You can be streaky if your hot streaks are really hot. And Butler in the past has shown the ability to do that. But we'll see. I think you're always going to get bad streaks and you're always going to get hot streaks. Really, this hot streak doesn't change my opinion of him as that much as a player. And, the cold streak didn't change my overall opinion a ton about him as much as a player either. I think you hope the good outweighs the bad, but there's going to be seasons where the bad outweighs the good. But no matter what, he's going to get streaky. He's going to get hot. And at the end of the day, the A's have made a financial commitment to him. So you're going to see him keep playing. I do think Colby Thomas, people have talked a lot about when Rooker comes back, what happens. I think Colby Thomas is the one who gets sent down. I think Alika Williams provides defense that is valuable. And the A's are a team that struggles defensively. So having a good defender on the bench, I think, is a good thing. Colby Thomas, I think so long-term, I kind of view him in the role that he's in. I think some people view him as more of a full-time player long-term. I kind of view him as a platoon bat, so I have no issue with him platooning. But I think when you look at this roster, you say, okay, there's games where Gelof can go out to the outfield. There's Rooker who can take a few reps in the outfield against lefties. And I don't think you need Thomas on the roster. Thomas benefits the roster, but I don't think the benefit is great enough where you send Butler down at this point and where you send Alika down at this point. So Butler has been good. I think he's kind of played his way out of some of the demotion conversations that I was having and a lot of people were having. So that's been good to see. He hits in all parks. Absolutely. Yeah. The 6-for-6 game was in Houston. He hits everywhere. Last year, he was better on the road than he was at home. So when people said minor league ballpark, it was like, hey, you don't know ball. But let the people that don't know ball keep being arrogant. It is what it is. BBQ, have you ever heard of home road splits, my dude? Hey, BBQ is just a contrarian a little bit. It's just what BBQ does. He's our guy. He's here all the time. But yeah, I appreciate the the debate that BBQ brings on here. Budget baseball, 1-4 had 7 hits today. 6-9 had 8 hits. My favorite inning was the 7th because it showcased why our 6-9 could be lethal. That was my favorite inning because the A's scored the most runs. But yeah, totally. Like you guys were saying, like I just talked about, when you're able to turn over the lineup like the A's have been doing, with Gelof hitting around 6, with Bolte hitting near the bottom, with Butler heating up, with McNeil heating up, all of a sudden, guys, this lineup looks dangerous. This lineup looks really dangerous. Where's the hole in that lineup if McNeil and Butler are hitting? I don't think you can find one, right? Cortez was 0 for 5 today, but are you really going to consider Cortez a hole at this point? Like, this lineup is looking pretty good, right? And it's, I think the Vegas thing gave the A's some confidence. Just seeing the ball leave the yard, seeing the run totals be put up, I think maybe gave the A's a little bit of confidence. But I've been saying that this team, this offense, is going to get on hot streaks. And when it gets on hot streaks, they are going to absolutely bludgeon teams. And we're starting to see that a little bit. Now, obviously, if the pitching and the defense can put it together a little bit, then we're talking about a good team. Right now we're talking about a good offense. Hopefully we can start talking about a good team soon. But they're a fun team to watch. That's for sure. Ben Rice WAR is 2.4. Kurtz is 3.4 tonight until it's updated tomorrow. Has him by more than a point. Jordan is a DH. One person done that is Shohei Ohtani, but he had 50 stolen bases. Yeah, I mean, I think the MVP conversation, once we hit about August, then we'll really dive into that. But there's definitely an argument right now that Kurtz has been the most valuable player in baseball. Because I'll tell you what, if Kurtz is not on this team is 5 games under 500. Like, this team is nowhere close to where they're at without Nick Kurtz, right? Ben Rice, the Yankees are probably still a playoff team without Ben Rice. Jordan, I mean, they aren't that great with him. I'm not counting the Astros out. They could go on a run for sure. But, man, Kurtz is really valuable to this team. That's all I know. Jason, okay, so this is a good point here. Ginn threw a lot of changeups and cutters tonight. He only threw the sinker 6 times. The development of his changeup and cutter against left-handed batters is a big reason for his success. 100%. If you had told me at the beginning of the year that JT Ginn would be throwing cutters and changeups at this rate, I would have thought it was because he was getting absolutely lit up. Because the sinker slider have always been his bread and butter, and the changeup and cutter have not been that great of pitches for him. Last year, lefties had an OPS over 1,000 against him. So basically, every lefty was Nick Kurtz against JT Ginn. Like, he was horrible against lefties, but he dominated righties. And it's clear that he's found a way to make some significant adjustments. He's changed his arsenal and changed his pitch mix, and it's allowing him to have success against both sides of the platoon, which has turned him into this pitcher. And that's one thing I was talking about at the beginning of this season, was if he can find a way to get lefties out, which I wasn't super confident he would be able to, he could be a frontline starter, and he's really turned into that so far for the A's. And you know what? Like, I've been really hard on the A's pitching development, but JT Ginn is an example of quality pitching development. He really struggled his first 2 years in this organization, like to the point where it wasn't even clear that he would be a big leaguer. And then he started making some significant strides in the minor leagues. He's made it to the major leagues and did some things well, but had some things really holding him back. And it looks like to this point, he's really made some adjustments to start to solve some of those issues that were holding him back. And so, as much as I complain about the A's pitching development, I do have to give credit where it's due. That is an example of really good pitching development. And that's the kind of thing good organizations do consistently, is they tweak pitch mixes. They find a way to make a guy successful by slightly changing his arsenal or slightly changing his usage. And that's what I want to see the A's do more. But it's good to see that JT Ginn is having success doing that. I just love Kurtz Oppo tacos, especially the towering ones. Yeah, I mean, it's cool because it almost, and I think this is part of the reason why people don't give Kurtz credit, is it almost looks too easy when he flicks a ball the other way. Like, if you ever golf with somebody that can just hit a ball super far and it doesn't even look like they're trying, kind of pisses you off. That's kind of what Kurtz does, I think, where he like just flicks these balls the other way. And normal human beings that play Major League Baseball, when they flick a ball the other way like that, it goes 300 feet. But for Kurtz, it goes 375 feet. And it just almost looks too easy. So people assume it's the ballpark. But really, it's It's just that he's different. BBQ, Ultra, his home stats are extremely better this year. Last year, they were worse. Owen, I'd want to extend Bolte now. Okay. So that is not something I've considered. Interesting. And the same thing with Jump, honestly. Interested in your thoughts on Muncy. Personally, feel like we can't trust him on a routine ground ball. I want Gelof at third every time. So I'm going to start with the first part there. Extend Bolte and Jump would be interesting. So Budget Baseball and pregame did a really good breakdown of Bolte. He hits everything on the ground right now. And so he's actually gotten pretty lucky to have the batting average he does have. But even with that, he's played much better defense than I expected. Like, he's been solid in center field. He's 100th percentile in sprint speed. So he is literally the fastest player in Major League Baseball. He's consistently making contact, which if you followed him throughout the minor leagues, that's always been the thing. It's like, hey, he strikes out a lot and he hits a lot of ground balls, which isn't a good profile. So even though he has all these tools, we're not sure he's going to get to them, which is why he was never like a top 100 prospect. Well, now he's making that contact. So he has shown the ability to make adjustments. I think that's I think both of those are good ideas. Because I think right now, if you extended both of those guys right now, you could get them at bargains that could pay huge dividends in the long run, but if they didn't work out, wouldn't kill you. So, yeah, those are two guys I haven't thought about. But, yeah, I'm confident both of those guys are big leaguers. I'm confident both those guys are big parts of our future. If you could do it at the right price, I would be fully interested in that. And then Muncy. So Muncy's a guy I've watched for a long time. I saw him play. I've been seeing him play since he was a sophomore in high school. I probably saw him play 4 or 5 times in high school. He's a freak athlete, but it doesn't show up in the field very often. He always just looks kind of stiff. And it's funny, one thing you see with Muncy is when he throws on the run, he's got a pretty strong arm and it's pretty accurate. But it tends to be when he has time to set his feet that he kind of gets into overthinking things a little bit. And his range isn't as good as you would expect it to be. I still think, like, when he went on the IL, he was starting to play better defense at third, and he had a terrible game yesterday. Like, obviously that's true, and he's still going to have terrible games. I still think you let him try to figure it out at third for a while longer. Long term, I've said this too, I think he could be a Chad Pinder, where, like, yeah, he plays some infield, but he also plays corner outfield, and he's just like this guy who mashes lefties and hits for actually pretty big power against lefties. And I know he struggled early in the year catching some pop-ups, but it's also Sutter Health where pop-ups are weird, and catching pop-ups in the infield is much different than the outfield. I could see him being more of like shifting that way a little bit if things don't work out on the infield, but I'm not ready to say to just give up on him in the infield. Bob, McNeil is pressing for the whole team, real leadership personality. The better everyone else plays, the better he can concentrate on his own game. So, yeah, maybe, but I don't know about that. I don't know if, like, hey, now that the team's playing well, I can play well, but when the team's playing bad, I got to try harder. Like, that's just not being a good baseball player if that's, like, what it is, because he's a veteran. Like, he knows that doesn't work. Like, he knows pressing doesn't work. Like, you can be ultra hyper competitive and still find a way to get your mental state to a place where you can hit. Like, that's what the best hitters do. So I agree he's pressing. I don't think it's that he's such a good leader that he's struggling. I think it's just he's going through a bad stretch and he's getting a little older. Andrew, I don't disagree. McNeil had some good baseball left in him, but at this point, I think you'd benefit the team most from being a veteran utility guy. And I think there's a good chance of that. But really, I mean, basically this conversation comes down to, is Muncy going to play or is McNeil going to play? And I think you play both of them fairly consistently, and I think that's going to kind of resolve itself one way or the other. I would like it to be Muncy personally because he has such a longer period of time in this organization. But, you know, I think that's going to kind of work itself out. Either Muncy's not going to hit and he's not going to play defense, or McNeil's going to keep slumping. And if both of those guys go in the tank, you have Alika that can play a little bit, and then is when you turn to Kuroda Grauer or someone like that if things continue. But I think that'll work itself out. Muncy does not have good enough at defense at this time for third. He's not ready. Well, like I said, this year is still about development to some degree. Like you can't, and I've had this argument a lot with people. People want to say like, "Hey, we don't have time for this," and it's like, "Hey, every team develops every year. The Dodgers develop every year, and you have to give guys room for development because, you know, guys go through struggles and guys improve, right? Marcus Semien was the worst shortstop in baseball at one point, and he ended up being, I think, third in MVP voting a few years later. So, as much as we would like it to be a cutthroat, like this guy's not performing, he needs to get out, you can't really do that in baseball. And there's got to be a little room for growth, even in a season where you want to win games and you want to compete. Hobbs, Sammy, what's your take on Wilson batting cleanup with Bolte and Gelof? I found it an odd decision. Yeah. So Q had a really good breakdown on this, and I'm sure you heard that. It's funny. I don't think of myself as really the lineup guy because I think everyone else has stronger opinions about the lineup. I've always been more of like, hey, get the right guys in the lineup. The order is whatever. Like if guys are hitting, they're going to hit in any spot in the order and kind of let it roll. So I've never put like a ton of stock into the lineup. I would prefer him hitting a spot further back in the lineup than 4. I don't think 4 is ideal, but I don't think it's like egregious either. I would probably rather see Soderstrom hitting 4 or Cortez hitting 4 or someone like that. Bolte and Gelof, I kind of like them a little bit more near the bottom because they're doing such a good job of turning the lineup over. And also, they're just guys that once they're on base can steal. And I don't know. So, yeah, I didn't love Wilson in the 4 spot, but it's not something that I put a ton of like stock in either. I think we lose a couple of position players to trades for pitching at the MLB level and a couple at the minor league level. It's interesting because I've gone really back and forth on this, and maybe I'll do a show on this in the future about like, should the A's be buyers or sellers, and what does buying and selling look like? I think you have a surplus of talented position players, and there is a definite need on the pitching staff, but you don't want to mortgage the future either. Having said that, if the A's traded a guy like Joshua Kuroda-Grauer for a pitcher, I wouldn't be super worried about. I wouldn't hate that just because I think long term he's a utility guy, and you have plenty of other utility guys, and you can bring in utility guys and stuff like that. Tommy White, I think, is a guy you could trade. Colby Thomas, I think, is a guy you can trade. Even Max Muncy, although I'm a little bit more hesitant on that one, but I think you could trade him. Or, well, you definitely could trade him, but that could be an option to get pitching. So there's guys, but the price of pitching is high. You're going to have to give up something valuable. It's not going to be like, hey, Lawrence Butler, or even, hey, Brent Rooker. Like, it's not going to be those guys that get you pitching. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a need for pitching, and I think that there's definitely a chance the A's are aggressive with how weak the American League is. I'm just not sure how aggressive I want the A's being, and that's something I have to think more on. But I think you might be right, Bob, that there's some position players that are going to go. Absolutely. But chat was saying Gelof was our best player yesterday. That was probably rants, and he was probably joking. But yeah, Gelof's been great. He's been great. He's been a really solid player. I think he's due for a little bit of regression, but he's a good defender. I know he had an error today. He's a good defender at multiple spots. He's a great base runner. If he's a league average hitter, you've got yourself a really good everyday player. And if he's above a league average hitter, then you've got yourself like an all-star caliber player. Man, if we just get a little more pitching and defense, we can kill it in the second half. There are only a couple of good teams in the American League and none in the West. Let's surprise the league. Pennant time. Yeah. It is tough because you're right. Like, you really want them to trade guys to get pitching. But this team does have a lot of holes. Like, this team is fun to watch. They're a talented young group, but there are a lot of holes. So I think I'm going to do a show on this where I really dig into like what buying and selling would actually look like, and then answer the question of like if the A's should buy or sell. Because I completely feel where you're at, Bob. It's such a weird year because the A's are 500, but they're in the third wild card spot, and they have all these flaws. But also, you're like, hey, if just a few more things go right, they could make a run this year, and this would be the year to make a run. So it's like, but you don't want to mortgage the future either. It's just such an interesting year for this. This trade deadline is actually going to be really fascinating. I always feel like Alvarado had a really high ceiling if he can get good, consistent command. So that's one thing about Alvarado. It's not just the velocity, it's the command. Like, he's never commanded that well, and he's absolutely dotting up sliders and dotting up sinkers. Now, he's really only a two-pitch guy, but when you throw 103 and you're locating the slider consistently like that, like, fine, only have two pitches. Like, that's great. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty special. Him and Mason Barnett too. Mason Barnett, he gave up a solo home run today. Him and Alvarado maybe stabilizing this bullpen a little bit is something that's really important, because that's one thing the A's have not had, is you've had a bunch of okay relievers, but no one you could consistently count on for outs. And if you can start counting on Alvarado, and even to a little bit lesser extent Mason Barnett, that can start to solidify things. And that's where it's like, okay, now you do add a reliever at the deadline, because then you have three solid relievers, and then you have Hogan Harris, who maybe starts to cut the walks down a little bit. And then maybe you have a bullpen that really is performing late in the year, which would be a huge difference maker for this team. So hopefully Alvarado can keep it up. Hopefully he can keep that up. White Ricky, yeah, Bolte. What a name, White Ricky. Any Bolte slander needs to stop. Thank you for policing that, Andrew. Bob, some guys can hit everything on the ground and make a living. No, not really, because major league defenses are so good. Now, if those are line drives, I hear you on that, because there's plenty of guys that do that. But long term, you can't hit the ball on the ground at the rate Bolte is and expect to be an above average major league hitter. You have to hit the ball on a line. Like, all those guys hit the ball on a line. And Ozzie Smith was, like, honestly a bad hitter most of his career. He's just the best defensive shortstop ever. And so he got in the lineup every day. And over time, his career numbers look okay, like in terms of like career hits and stuff. But yeah, Ichiro is one of those elite hand-eye guys, and he could hit the ball on the ground, on the line, in the air. He could do it all. Paul Molitor, that dude smoked line drives everywhere. That's a little bit before my time, but I was born in 1993, and the day after I was born, Joe Carter hit the walk-off home run to beat the Phillies in the World Series, and I was a day old, and my mom was watching it, holding me in the hospital. And so when I got older, they were like, hey, my parents got me a DVD of that whole series, like the Blue Jays Phillies series. And so I used to watch it all the time. And Paul Molitor, like, had an unbelievable World Series. But that guy was smoking line drives everywhere. That guy was such a good hitter. But yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. What do you think we have to give up in a hypothetical Sandy Alcantara or Webb trade from the Giants? Viva Las Vegas. So I believe Webb has 2 years left, like this year and next year. I might be wrong on that. Alcantara is a free agent this year. So generally the price for guys that are about to be free agents has dropped pretty significantly, but you're still going to have to give up a quality prospect. I don't think Kuroda Grauer gets it done, because I think a lot of organizations probably view him as like a utility guy, but maybe he can be part of it. The issue with the A's is their farm system's really top heavy, and they have a lot of guys and most of them are kind of getting up to the big leagues now. They don't have a lot of like these, like the next tier of prospects isn't that great. Maybe you go Devin Taylor, Kuroda Grauer, or maybe it's like Jack Perkins and Devin Taylor, something like that might get him. If I'm right and Webb has another year, then I think you would have to throw in Wei and Lynn or Jamie Arnold, plus the guys I said. Like, I think the price for pitching is going to be steep. It's going to be less steep for a guy with 1 year. So, yeah, that's my guess on the price. It could even be a touch higher. I don't know. Muncy as a DH if Rooker was traded or long-term IL. I don't see his glove at third. He needs to make huge. Yeah, 100%. He needs to make huge improvements. Semien had Ron Washington. Who does Muncy have? We'll see. I mean, he was playing better defense before he went on the IL, and I'm with you. Like I kind of said, like I think he might be an outfielder long term, but to me, you have to keep giving him a little bit of a chance. Like it can't be, hey, you've gotten whatever 40 games at third base and you're done. Like especially with such a young guy, he is really young, and it's not like you have anyone breathing down his neck at third base. Like as good of a game as McNeil had, like he's not going to be forced into the lineup unless he keeps doing what he's did today. So I think you give him a little bit of runway and kind of let him see. And, if in August, September, you're in it and he's playing bad defense, then yeah, like obviously that's the time to get him out of there. But he doesn't have to be great. If he can be slightly below average, then you're not in a terrible position. And I'm a huge defensive guy, Bob. Like I talk about defense all the time. But yeah, I just don't think there's a better option at this point. To me, Wilson should always be 1, 2, or 9. I don't like Wilson 1 or 2 because he doesn't actually get on base that much. So my ideal leadoff hitter hits for some power, gets on base at a super high clip, and generally sees pitches. Lawrence Butler, when he's right, is that, but he hasn't been that consistently, so I don't think he's in there. I think Bolte is the best bet at like a long-term guy in the leadoff spot. I just don't like Wilson because he doesn't actually get on base that much. Like he gets on base at a 340 clip or something like that, which is like major league average. And I don't know. I want somebody that gets on base at a little higher clip than that. So that's kind of my thought there, but feel free to disagree with me on that. BBQ. Kurtz is my favorite player. He has one of the highest hard hit percentages in the league. I know he's not a sack merchant. Yeah, no, I know you know. You're just causing some debate, ruffling some feathers. I see you. Bro, get on the phone with the Giants. Crota, Grauer, and Muncy for pitching. Yeah, but it would probably take Arnold or Way and Lynn too for Webb, I think. Leaks out there reporting they're going to be sellers. Yeah, I mean, if you can get Brandon Webb, that's great. What I want them to do is trade for a guy like that has more team control and maybe is a guy that's struggling right now, or maybe is a guy that has some level of injury history. Like Ryan Weathers to the Yankees this offseason, he was actually a pretty big risk because he's been hurt a lot. He's had some underperformance, but he's still young and has a lot of team control. I don't have any names off the top of my head that fit that, but that's the kind of guy I want them to trade for. But I'm open to the idea of trading for a bigger fish. I have to think about that more. I was for sure exaggerating. Gelof isn't our best player, just top 3. Thank you for clarifying, Rance. But in my mind, you said that Zack Gelof is better than Nick Kurtz, and I'll never forgive you for that. Yusef, against all odds, we appear to be in this thing. Please do that show. Yeah, I'll do that next time. Maybe on Thursday I'll talk about that because I think there's a lot of interest in that, and I'm still conflicted on what to do at the trade deadline. So, yeah, let's get into that. Maybe we'll make it live. I don't know, but we'll see. We said the same about Billy Burns. Just get the ball on the ground. He will be fine. No, that's just not going to work long term. Although Bolte's speed is a great asset, but we'll need him to hit it hard. Yeah, he does hit the ball hard. And that's dude, this guy is so special. And the thing that makes me optimistic about Bolte is he has made the adjustments in the minor leagues that he's needed to make. Like at one point, he was striking out like 40% of the time in the minor leagues. And then there was other scouting reports that said like, hey, his defense is bad. Well, so far in the big leagues, his defense has been pretty good and he's consistently made contact. So if he starts elevating the ball a little bit, he's a star player. And, it's a really tough adjustment to make. It's a really tough thing to do because swing paths, are tough to change. And those adjustments are tough to change to get the ball in the air. But if anyone can do it, he can do it. And if he starts doing that, watch out. I think budget baseball compared him to George Springer, like that's what you're looking at if he's able to start elevating a little bit more. Bolte smokes the ball. You making it out to any games this year? I don't know. So I'm in Southern California. When they come down to play the Angels, I'm actually going to be out of town. So I don't know if I'll see that. What I actually want to do is later this summer after the draft happens, get out to either Ontario or San Bernardino and watch the low A team play, the Ports play when they come. I think they play down here in late July. I want to get out there and see the young guys that were just drafted. Hopefully the A's first round picks, second round picks, stuff like that. But I don't know if I'm going to make it to any A's games in person this year, which would be interesting. Very fascinating. The A's are a real good position for trading. There have been at least 6 front offices that salivate at the chance to trade for a veteran pitcher for club controlled talent. Yeah, no, for sure. Like we're going to have to dig into that more. Tune into that, Bob, because we'll be talking about that. Pitching is expensive. It is ridiculous. Great show, by the way. We appreciate you. Hey, I appreciate all of you guys. You guys are awesome. You make this a really, really fun thing to do. I mean, shoot, we're going on an hour now, and I've barely checked the time. I'm having a great time talking to you guys about this stuff. Bob, they will have a lot of offers for Webb. His price will be a little high because so many teams are in it. Yeah, that's the thing, too, is there's not going to be many sellers at this deadline because so many teams think they're in it, which makes it a seller's market, which is going to mean the cost of everything is going to be high. So it'll be interesting to see how the A's navigate this trade deadline. It'll be really interesting to see. I think a key part to building a great team is taking risks, extending guys early in their careers. Yeah, Owen, you've got me thinking the jump thing and the Bolte thing. I think that's a really good idea, and I haven't even thought about that. Like that thought hasn't crossed my mind yet. But you have 2 really talented players that are really young. You see other good organizations doing this. You see the Brewers doing it. You see the Mariners doing it. You've seen the Rays do it for a number of years where they extend guys way early. And, Bolte and Jump are really good candidates for that. So I like that idea. With a lack of pitching, we need to take a risk with Jump. I hear you on that and hope he pans out and to be a legit piece. Yeah, I'm kind of on board, Owen. You've talked me into that. I think I'm on board with that. I would not be surprised if Webb brings back someone's 3, 4, or 5. Yeah, I mean, the issue with the A's and their farm system is it's basically like you had a big 5, I would say, coming into the year. It was Leo, the 3 lefties, and Bolte. And after that, it really drops off. And so if you don't want to trade any of those 5 guys, which at this point I don't really want to do unless you get like a legit young starter with team control. And if that's the case, I do it in a heartbeat, honestly. Like, I can't think of a good example, but if you can get a young starting pitcher with team control, that's also good. Then I don't care. Give up your top 5 prospects. I don't care. Maybe not Bolte because he's in the big leagues contributing right now, but the other ones, other than Leo, maybe the 3 lefties. I don't hesitate to flip Jamie Arnold for a guy like that. But yeah, it's really going to be tough for me to to be okay with the A's parting with any of those guys for anything less than a long-term controllable young good starter. And I don't see anyone else in the organization getting that return. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Maybe not Arnold, maybe Lynn, Grauer, Muncy. Yeah, I'm a little lower on Arnold than a lot of people and a little bit higher on Lynn than a lot of people. But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Like, not give up some of those guys. If I remember right, Burns had a big problem, was the shift, just like Moss. I don't have a good enough memory about Billy Burns. I remember he was so good his first year, and it was on one of those – I think it was on one of those bad A's teams, and he was a fun little player to watch for a little while there. I want to keep Jamie Arnold for sure. Yeah, no, I hear you, even though I just said of the 3, I'd get rid of him. But yeah, no, I hear you on that. Yeah, seriously, thanks for a great show, Sam. Appreciate you, Owen. You don't extend Bolte with a sample size, right? But see, that's the thing that Owen was saying is you do have to take risks. Like the Brewers just called up a guy that already is extended for the next 8 years. I think Pratt, I think is his last name. And the Mariners extended Emerson, their top prospect, before he got to the big leagues. Like there's risk in it. There's obviously risk in it. But if it can also have a massive return where you get a star player for a controllable cost for an extended period of time. So yeah, I mean, you have to do it with the right player, but it definitely is something that can work. Bob, Owen is spot on about signing Jump and Bolte. Yeah, I think we're all at least open to that idea, and I like that idea. Rants 2015, Billy Burns, great times. Imagine this. Tell me this does not fire you up. Webb, Jump, Ginn, Savale, probably Severino. Yeah, no, that does kind of fire me up. I'll be honest. That does kind of fire me up. Vegas, super. Is this a super chat? I've never gotten one of those. $3. Hell yeah. But yeah, Bob, um, you know, that does fire me up. So here's the thing. I'm saying I wouldn't like it now, but then if it did happen and I'm writing down that rotation and thinking about the A's playoff run, I do get excited. So it's such a tough decision, but we're going to wrap it up there, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on here. Great A's win. 11-2. We needed a win like this where it's just easy. There's no stress, nothing but good things to talk about. I needed it. I know you guys needed it. I'll work on the show about the A's trade deadline and kind of piecing that together because this conversation's got my wheels turning a little bit. All of you guys had great suggestions. Owen, Bob, love the stuff you threw out there. But we're going to end it there, guys. There's been another post-game episode of Where Stats Meet Instinct. Thanks again for showing up, hanging out. Like and subscribe to the channel, guys. Everyone on here puts out great content. The A's are growing. We're building something. And we want to grow this network as the A's really start to put this team together. And we got a great team here. So like, subscribe, help us out, guys. We appreciate it. But we're going to end it there, guys. And as always, guys, go A's.